Welcome to the latest episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. This is episode 171, Breaking Down Fad Diet Myths. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Real World Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Shelley Rael, registered dietitian nutritionist. And it at Real World Nutrition, we aim to make nutrition practicable, accessible, and sustainable for your real life. That is what is meant by real world nutrition. And today I'm diving into a topic that many of you have asked about. This comes up all the time, year round, no matter what the season, no matter what the time of year. Over the many years that I have been working as a dietitian, and even while I was still in my internship, this topic of fad diets. And more specifically, rather than addressing the hundreds, if not thousands, of the fad diets, I want to break down more specifically some of the myths that are pervasive among these so called quick fixes. So, with all these fad diets, there tends to be overlapping themes from one year to the next. The names of the diets may change, but the big picture gimmick, may I say, involved in it is very similar in a lot of cases. But here's the bottom line, a spoiler alert overall, is if it sounds too good to be true, you know the rest of it, it probably is. So I'm going to address some of the fact from fiction here today. There's no way I can address every single thing about fad diets and all their myths, but hopefully these 5 things can help you get an idea and see if it applies to some of these things that you may be hearing about or seeing. So with this, by today's the end of this episode, I hope you'll know why these myths persist, how to spot a fad diet, and what to do instead. And I'll also share at the end how you can grab my free ebook that I have written, Top 10 Nutrition Myths Busted. Get the facts. Now, this is only covering some of those. That ebook not only has the information, the 10 myths, but I also have science based information so you can see some of the references for that. So, it does cover a lot of the common nutrition misconceptions out there. Now, some of these, you may be aware of some of these things, and like that's old news. And some of these, you may still hear it or may think some of these things are true, but have not heard it in this way. So, first thing I want to address is what is a fad diet? So, really, this is something that is a trendy eating plan that promises rapid weight loss or dramatic health results. So, trendy eating plan. So, if there's something you didn't hear about 20 years ago, you didn't hear about 5 years ago, but all of a sudden everybody's doing it, that's probably a sign that it's a fad diet. If it promises rapid weight loss, well, yes, that's a fad diet. When we're saying rapid weight loss, we're talking like 10 pounds in a week, 30 pounds in a month, 100 pounds in a few months. Not a lot of people need to lose 100 pounds. Of course, there are some people out there who do. But if that weight loss is happening that quickly, usually there's some kind of surgery involved. Now, there is so the rapid weight loss is relative, but rapid dramatic weight loss that really, again, sounds too good to be true, or other dramatic health results. So, some of these fad diets will be like, I cured my eczema and my joints don't hurt and I don't get migraines and my skin cleared up, which is also like eczema, and I have more energy and I lost weight. Some of these things where it's like all these things happen, dramatic health results that seem to have zero relationship to each other. So Yes, nutrition may have an impact on your eczema, but how does eczema and migraines and weight and energy all go together? Usually they don't, not with one simple thing. And a lot of these times, these diets have very little scientific backing. They may cut out entire food groups and are difficult to sustain long term. So, when we're talking about little scientific backing, one of the popular things now is all of a sudden there's these foods that are Ozempic like foods. And I'm not going to get into Ozempic right now, but this is the thing. Where were these foods a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? All of a sudden, these foods are Ozempic like foods? Or these three things that you can do to give you Ozempic results? I swear I've seen this. I was watching something on YouTube and this was an ad beforehand, and it was like a long 2-minute segment where they were talking about the secret. You get the same results as Ozempic without having to get the shots, and all these celebrities by name are doing it. It's a bunch of BS. But I also know a lot of people are falling for it. When I say falling for it, they're clicking, they're going to see what's the secret. Really, there's no secret. I promise you that. So some of these things are red flags to watch for. So again, one of the red flags is something that promises rapid weight loss. 10 pounds in a week, not likely going to happen unless you're having something amputated. Another red flag, strict rules or elimination of entire food groups. Strict rules. I used to see somebody, it was a hairdresser I used to see, and every time I saw her, she would go down the list of no, 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 this is what I'm not eating, what I'm not eating, what I'm not eating, what I'm not eating. I hear that all the time. I don't eat this, I don't eat this, I don't eat this, I don't eat this. I'm like, what do you eat? A diet should not have something where you are not allowed to have something. All foods can fit. Unless you have an allergy or an intolerance, all foods can fit. So if there's a strict rule that you should not or cannot have something, whether it's certain food items or an entire food group, that's a red flag. People say, well, I can't have gluten. Fine, you can still have grains. There's lots of grains that don't have gluten in them. If you can't have nuts because you're allergic to nuts, well, guess what? There's plenty of other things in the protein group. If you can't have dairy, there are alternatives to that. So that's not necessarily an alternative. There are needing to eliminate a food group. But this is for an allergy. I'm not talking about for weight loss. When people say you can't have red meat, you can't have any fruit, you can't have any grains, well, of course you're going to lose weight. And how fun are you going to be hanging out with? Another thing that's a big red flag, and this is so common, reliance on supplements or so-called magic products. So you can lose weight, and if you drink this magic elixir, you're going to do it. If you cut out all these food groups, but you need these 13 supplements to be able to not have nutrition deficiencies, that's a big red flag. Lack of credible scientific evidence. Now, there are lots and lots of diets out there that have science backing, from the DASH diet to the Mediterranean diet to the Mind diet. There's all kinds. Following diet recommendations from the American Diabetes Association, the American Heart Association, lots of things that have scientific evidence. And if somebody on YouTube is just talking about it rather suddenly, and you've never heard of it before, I can almost guarantee you that there's not much science behind it. Now, I'll say, I admit there's a lot of people when I talk about the DASH diet have never heard of it, have no idea what it is. I'll give you, if you don't know what it is It is originally for helping with high blood pressure. So DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. And here's the thing, it's got whole grains, it's got lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, lean meat, low fat dairy, nuts and seeds, and an allowance even for sugar sweetened snacks or desserts. So, but there's a lot of science behind that one. And then here's another one, endorsements by celebrities or influencers, which are the new celebrities now, rather than health experts. So the influencers that are demonizing a lot of food groups or a lot of types of foods, but then also have a click a link, click my affiliate link, that's really a red flag right there. So those are just some of the red flags of identifying a fad diet. So I want to talk briefly about some of these top 5 diet myths. Some of these I've addressed in the past, so I'll mention these, which episodes I've talked about these in the past. So first one, this one is so pervasive. Carbs make you gain weight. That is a myth. And people often say, well, I cut out carbs, so I lost weight. Well, one, did you cut out carbs or did you cut out grains? Okay, because carbs are found in any plant food. Whether you're talking about nuts, seeds, you're talking about tofu, you're talking about soy milk, you're talking about fruits and vegetables, those are all plant foods. And then you've got carbohydrates. But carbohydrates are a nutrient that are necessary to help give you energy to your body, especially your brain. So, what happens is weight gain comes from consuming more calories than you burn, not from eating carbs alone. Now, granted, if you're eating carbohydrates that are high in fat, high in sugar, void of nutrients for the most part, yeah, that's going to contribute to excess calories and therefore weight gain. But also, when people cut out carbohydrates very, very strictly, carbohydrates and water hang out together. And when people cut out carbohydrates, a lot of time they're losing water weight. And as soon as they eat those carbohydrates again, the water comes back. So, what I encourage instead all the time, instead of fearing carbs, instead of talking bad about carbs, instead of saying, I'm cutting out carbs because they make me gain weight, focusing on choosing nutrient dense options like whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. And if you know somebody who's vegetarian or vegan more specifically, their diet is pretty high in carbohydrates. Number 2, you need to cut calories drastically to lose weight. Now, in episode 137, I addressed how we calculate calorie needs, how all the calories that we eat go to contributing to many things within our body. And so, extreme calorie restriction can backfire. It can lead to having a slower metabolism if you do this long term. It can lead to nutrient deficiencies. And here's the thing, when you need to pay attention to your calorie needs, envision this in your mind. What is your current body weight? If you're a woman, add a 0 to that. If you're a man, multiply that body weight by 11. That number is the absolute minimum you need to even support your basic body functions. The fact that you're even awake and your heart is beating and you're breathing and you probably got up to go to the bathroom if you're not doing other things as well, that's how much you need minimum to support that. So that doesn't take into account any type of physical activity you would do. That doesn't take into account the variances based on age and so many other things. So I know people who like, "Oh, I'm 250 pounds, but I want to get to 180 pounds, so I'm only eating 1900 calories." Well, that's still, it's going to contribute to weight loss, but it's not sustainable, and it can really make it difficult for weight loss to continue. So, myth number 3, I addressed this not too long ago in episode 141 about detox diets. Detox diet that cleanse your body. First thing is, if you need a detox diet, really, I encourage you to take a look at what you're eating already. You don't need to detox on a regular basis unless your diet is so terrible. It's not the detox, is addressing what you're eating already. But in the big picture, your liver and kidneys do an excellent job of detoxing your body. That is their job. That is the role of the liver and kidneys, along with some other things. But that's basically what it does, detoxing everything. That's why when people drink a lot of alcohol, the liver is what gets damaged the most. You don't need expensive juices or teas or powders or any type of supplements or cleanses to do this. Focus on drinking water, eating fiber rich foods. Just eat like a regular person. Quit eating a bunch of crap. And guess what? You don't need to detox. Detoxing, I always say this all the time, detoxing is really reserved for those individuals who are withdrawing from alcohol or drugs, not from eating food. Myth number 4, fat free or low fat foods are always healthier. Now, this one wasn't directly addressed in episode 35, but in episode 35, that's where I addressed omega 3s and omega 6 fats. So, when fat is removed from a product, so this is a carryover from the 80s and 90s, where there was this idea that all fat was unhealthy for us. Before it was fully understood that there was the different types of fats, the healthy omega 3 and omega 6 fats, the not so healthy saturated fats, and the absolutely unhealthy trans fats, the artificially made trans fats. So back then, it was thought we need to eat fat free. Fat free is the only way to go. Fat free is the best way to go. Low fat foods and fat free foods are always healthier. And let me tell you this, soda's got no fat in it. It's got a lot of sugar, but it's got no fat. That doesn't mean it's healthier. So most often when fat is removed from a product, so let's take a baked good. And if we want to make a low fat or a fat free baked good, manufacturers will often add more sugar or other fillers to make it taste better. Low fat peanut butter, or more specifically, reduced fat peanut butter, which is one of the silliest things in my opinion, takes out the healthy fat, adds more salt, adds more sugar, makes it less healthy because the calories are exactly the same. So, healthy fats like avocados, the ones from avocados, the ones from nuts, the ones from olive oils, the one from seeds, yes, seeds, these are essential for your body and your brain. Fatty fish, so good for you. Fried fish, not so much. So, certain fat free and low fat foods are totally fine. Cucumbers, celery, tomatoes, great. Apples and bananas, great. Low fat or fat free baked goods, not necessarily. The key here is balance. So your body needs fat, your brain needs fat. We want to aim for healthy fat. Myth number 5, you can out exercise a poor diet. Now, this one I addressed in episode 121. Now, here's the deal, exercise is so important for our overall health, but exercise alone will not cancel out poor diet, poor eating habits, poor lifestyle habits. I remember years ago reading about this individual who was an avid runner but still a smoker. Sounds funny now. Obviously, running isn't negating the negative health effects of smoking. Just like exercise in general is not going to negate or cancel out any negative effects of poor eating habits. So often, I have people who think that because they exercise, they don't have to worry about what they're eating. But nutrition plays a role in fueling the body as well as helping you achieve your health goals. So, people who exercise can still get cancer, can still have heart disease, can still have high blood pressure. So, exercise and nutrition are partners. I often say these are two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. Well, of course you can. You can have one without the other, but the outcome is not going to be the same. So, think about fueling your fitness, and exercise helps with the healthy body. So, those are the top 5 diet myths that I tend to hear about. Going back to carbs make you gain weight, I did talk about that in episode 140. That was the first myth I talked about. And there's one early on, check the show notes for this, where I refer to carbs are a nutrient, not a food group. So that all of these are linked in the show notes. So, let's talk about this last part here, practical tips for sustainable health. So, what the key is here is focus on sustainable health, as in, what can you do for a lifetime? So, you don't have to say, sorry, I can't go out to eat with you. I can't enjoy coffee with you. I can't do this. I can't do that. Because we've got a life to live. And I remember going on a bike ride with somebody, and she goes, yeah, but we can't stop for coffee because I'm not drinking coffee right now. Fine, but at the same time, she wasn't eating anything at that point. I mean, she's basically eating 5 foods. That was her issue. I shouldn't have to be the one that can't stop for coffee because she wasn't doing it. But anyway, so let's talk about some practical tips here for sustainable health. One, focus on the whole minimally processed foods. And I want to say minimally processed, I'm talking about the foods you generally know what these mean. Technically speaking, yogurt is a highly processed food. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the snack chips and the cookies and the sodas and that sort of thing. Aim for balance, so carbohydrates, protein, and healthy fats at every meal. What's that mean? Fruits, vegetable, whole grains, protein foods, and dairy or dairy alternatives. Set realistic and measurable health goals. It may not be as much as the weight loss, but saying that you're going to have at least one serving of fruit every day, or you're going to move at least 30 minutes every day. Avoid diets that make extreme promises or restrict entire food groups. So that's what I mentioned at the beginning. Removing an entire food group is not only unnecessary, it's going to contribute to nutrition deficiencies. And number 5, here, work with a qualified professional, a qualified health professional, such as a registered dietitian nutritionist, to create a personalized nutrition plan for you. So remember, you don't have to fall for the latest trends to be healthy. I'll tell you what, eating fruits and vegetables has never been unhealthy. And it's always been something I've said for as long as I've been a dietitian. And even when I was a kid, that's what we were supposed to eat. That's never been out. But other diets come and go. So you don't have to fall for the latest trends to be healthy. Sustainable changes, not quick fixes. These are what truly matter. So, I did cover a lot today. There could have been 100 more things I could have talked about, but talking about what a fad diet is and some of these top myths that tend to be pervasive around them, as well as some of these practical tips of what to do instead. Now, I hope this clears up some confusion. Usually, this is a two-way conversation where there's clarifying questions. I understand I'm just speaking to you without you being able to ask questions, but hopefully it'll give you tools to approach your health in a more sustainable way. So, 2 things here today. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to learn more about some of these nutrition myths, head over to the link in the show notes for the free ebook, Top 10 Nutrition Myths Busted. Get the facts. It's packed with practical, science based information so you can make informed health choices. You can head over to my website to get your copy now. You can go to shelleyrael.com. At the moment, the pop up there is the how to get the ebook. Or if you click in the link to the show notes, it'll take you straight to that landing page for the website. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Currently, these come out every Friday morning. Also, if you want to schedule a free 30-minute introductory call where we can talk about how you can get a more personalized nutrition plan, I've got the link in the show notes for that as well. All right. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Real World Nutrition. Until next time, focus on progress and know that every single step forward, no matter how small, is indeed progress. All right, everyone, take care and bye for now.